Welcome to Windows of Hope. Today we have a very special treat for you. Dr. John McDougall, an internal medicine specialist, is going to be talking with Sabrina Nelson. Sabrina had a very serious medical problem, and she went to Dr. McDougall seeking help. I think you'll be blessed as you hear her story of how she has had a remarkable recovery on another window on health.
There are many ways that people come about learning a healthy diet, and each and every experience is unique, and sometimes I just find out by the wayside that somebody discovered along the way the things that I was doing, and our next guest, that's kind of how her story went, is she was introduced to a healthy diet. When did it first start? This is Sabrina Nelson, and I imagine you were raised like most of us on a pretty typical Western diet.
Pretty much. I wouldn't say my mother was a big meat eater. She always resented the turkey on Thanksgiving. But I became vegetarian in 1990 after reading John Robbins' book, Diet for a New America, but didn't go vegan until I had my own health issue to deal with and discovered you. So John Robbins turned me into a vegetarian, but John McDougall turned me into a vegan.
There you go. And you were a pretty healthy person. I mean, you look right now very healthy. Back, say, 10, 12 years ago, you enjoyed pretty good health?
I would say I did. You know, I've always had low blood pressure, and I wouldn't say I had any health issues. So when I did have something crop up, it was a total shock, unexpected.
You're a big family person, Sabrina. I know that, you know, children are such an important part of your life. How old are your kids? My twins are 10, and my little boy is 8 now. Okay, so your whole introduction to healthy diet happened just before you had you had your twins. Right, right. And you were still eating the pretty typical American diet, then you kind of became vegetarian. But what finally made you kind of wake up and decide that you really had to take this whole thing serious? Well, I thought I had been taking it seriously, but the one thing I hadn't done was I was still eating dairy. I didn't totally understand how bad that was until I got hit, and I got hit very hard. And this was while I was pregnant with my son. I got a diagnosis of an autoimmune disease, and I was very sick. I didn't understand how sick I was until I was in remission, though, and I'm kind of glad I didn't know, because I would have been a lot more scared. But it was a shock. Okay, when autoimmune disease, I mean, people have kind of heard of autoimmune disease, and they may even have heard, well, in these kinds of diseases, the body attacks itself. Right. So you had a disease where your body was attacking itself? My rheumatologist described it as your body being allergic to self. It's like your body stops understanding that things that are supposed to be there, it thinks that it shouldn't be there anymore. So in my case, the disease is called relapsing polychondritis, and what your body does with this disease is it starts attacking cartilage. And there are certain places in your body where there's a lot of cartilage, and that's up in the ears and around the heart and in various places in the nose where you find a lot of cartilage. So I woke up one morning with my ears like they were on fire, and it looked like I had a terrible sunburn, and they were bubbling, and it just was incredibly painful. And I called the dermatologist. I thought maybe I was having an allergic reaction to a shampoo. And when she saw me, she thought it might be polychondritis, but it was so rare that she almost didn't believe it herself. So she sent me to a rheumatologist, and that is what it was. And it's one of those diseases they say is of unknown origin. So they don't really know how or why it happens. And what did they tell you about your future? You know, you have a relapsing polychondritis, an autoimmune disease, so is it going to go away with a new shampoo? Or what was their plans? No. That's a thing I asked my doctor, how can I get rid of this? And his answer was, there's no cure. I can teach you how to live with it. And with me being pregnant and with 2 3-year-old children, that wasn't really the answer I wanted. You wanted to be cured?
I wanted to be cured. I needed to be healthy. I got these little kids. I need to be able to run around and take care of them. I can't be...
And you wanted to keep your ears.
Yeah.
You wanted to keep your nose and the cartilage around your joints and
my heart.
Yeah, and I imagine that there's even some more serious things that could happen with this.
Oh, you can die. It's a degenerative disease, and it's disfiguring. You know, people talk about cauliflower ears.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the sources, is relapsing polychondritis. So.
Okay, you weren't going to take this laying down in the sense that
no.
you were going to you weren't going to continue to essentially be eaten away by this disease.
No.
So how did you get around to find out there was an option?
Well, I got lucky. My sister a year earlier had given me one of your books. I think it's the 12 Days to Dynamic Health. Excuse me if I don't get the title exactly right.
No, that's perfect, yes.
And people, when they find out you're a vegetarian, they give you books.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh, she's a vegetarian. I'm going to give her a cookbook. And so I have an extensive library, maybe half of which I've read. And that was one of the books which I hadn't read. So going through my library, I just started pulling out books, saying, I got to find a way to do something about this. And I happened on yours. I opened it up to the back, and there was a section on lupus. And lupus, this disease is in the lupus family. And I started reading it. And it took me about 10 minutes, and I called up to my husband. I said, Jeff, we're vegans now. And he's like, oh, okay. Luckily, I have a supportive husband. And within 3 weeks of cutting dairy out of my diet, I didn't have symptoms. And I had blood tests done, and my anti-nuclear antibodies, which indicate that the disease is active, were not there.
Just listening to your story, it gives me chills, and there's lots more we got to talk about. So I'd like to have you come back next week, and you can tell people a little bit more about what happened to you, and I also want to hear what your doctor's response was to you curing an incurable disease. Sabrina Nelson has been my guest, and we have a lot more to talk to her about next week. And it's my great pleasure to welcome back a very, very interesting woman who has a story about a miraculous health recovery. She's a family person, very interested in her children and her husband and the family life that they enjoy. And so the potential that was there to ruin something that was very beautiful in her life was there with a disease called relapsing polychondritis. You probably never heard about it, but you've heard about rheumatoid arthritis, maybe, or lupus, or these other autoimmune diseases where the body attacks itself. Well, my guest, Sabrina Nelson, had one of these diseases, and it potentially was going to disfigure her and maybe even end her life, and certainly interfere with the opportunity to take care of her children. But the nice thing is you had a chance to get better by changing from, first of all, the American diet to a vegetarian diet with dairy products, which still didn't get you well. In fact, may have even gotten you in trouble with the dairy. And then you learned to get the dairy products out of the diet completely, and you had a miraculous cure. Sabrina Nelson, what happened when you went into the doctor who told you you had an incurable disease, and you said, hey, doc?
Well, you know, I was scared, and I didn't want to have an incurable disease, and I kept asking, is there anything I can do? And the answer was, we can teach you how to live with it. We can give you terrible drugs that can make you blind and give you, nasty headaches. And the drugs take on a life of their own. They have side effects. They may control part of the disease, but they can make other parts of you sick. So to me, that's not a solution. So, just to throw this in, I did.
Up in his face, though. You got better, and you weren't supposed to.
Well, you know what? When I told him I was a vegetarian, he did say to me, vegan is best.
Really?
He did tell me that, but he didn't insist on it. And he didn't tell me to go on a vegan diet. If he had written that out to me as a prescription and said, this is what you need to do, I would have been, shopping that afternoon to do that. But he didn't do that. And I think it's because maybe most people won't. I don't know. But I did, and I'm grateful. And I will say that I did pray for guidance. And maybe I was, led to your book by a higher power that I hadn't picked it up before, but my husband and I, we prayed a lot. What do we do? Just saying you're not going to get better was not good enough, not when you've got 3 little kids. And I hadn't even been married that long. I wanted to enjoy my husband for a long time.
And how's your health now?
I would say I call it aging in reverse. It's like I've taken up things now that I didn't even do when I was a teenager. I'm tap dancing, I play soccer, and I'm running. Those aren't things that I even did when I considered myself healthy. So I would say I'm in really good health and really enjoying it.
And you wish, as I'm sure, as I wish, I'm sure you wish also that everybody else could understand this message. You are a homemaker. You have these two lovely daughters and a son,
Right.
and a husband. And how does it work in your home as far as getting the foods? Who takes responsibility? Who does the cooking? How do things work out?
I would like to say that everyone shares in the cooking, but they don't. Even now, I consider food an adventure, and it's fun to find new ways to prepare things and new delicious foods to eat. And just in the last year, I discovered pressure cooking, so now I can make just the most amazingly delicious foods in 8 minutes or 10 minutes. And it's food that I would go out to a restaurant to eat that I really loved, and now I have it in my own home very quickly. So not only is it very healthy and it allows us to maintain a healthy, active lifestyle, it's incredibly good too. So.
Do the kids think so too?
Oh yeah, they have. My son likes to eat split pea soup for breakfast. He requests that, so absolutely, yes.
So you have no dissension with the kids or the husband. Everybody's very, very happy about the foods, enjoying it, and they all share in the cooking.
Yeah. They share in the eating.
One of the things that our audience doesn't know about you, and which I'd like to share with them, is that both you and your husband have become very politically active as well as businessly active. Business-wise, you become very active in the health movement, trying to encourage people to eat a more plant-based diet. Can you tell us a little bit about what your professional activities are?
Well, we run VegSource.com, and there was a reason why we started that website. Again, it was that was a blessing that I got better. And when you are given a blessing like that, I feel like you have a responsibility to share that with other people. So we opened our website, VegSource, to teach people about the message as well and to help other people get healthy. And I do support work with people who have the disease, relapsing polychondritis as well, because their doctors don't know. I'm someone who got rid of a dread disease by diet. And who wouldn't rather do that than take a bunch of terrible drugs?
So you kind of have your pulse on what's going on in this country in terms of dietary change. And also, individual people like the folks with relapsing polychondritis. Do you see anything positive going on?
Well, I think that I love seeing Whole Foods expanding.
This is the store,
Whole Foods Market, right? Because you can walk into a Whole Foods and know that you're not going to get hydrogenated foods, that you're not going to get foods that are loaded with chemicals. Because for me, I'm at a point where I don't just want to eat foods that don't have dairy or meat. I want to have something that's free of chemicals and hormones as well. So I want to be very careful, and I think it's a very positive sign that you can walk into places like that and see other people doing that as well, who want that as well.
So Sabrina Nelson, you're very encouraged that the rest of the population is going to get enlightened.
Well, we can hope and we can pray, and I want everyone to be healthy and to, be as lucky as I have with learning the things that I've had the opportunity to learn.
Well, I certainly think sharing your message has helped people understand not only is the medical miracle absolutely fantastic, but it's attainable. I mean, you did it, and anybody else can do it too. They just need a little information. Thank you very much.
Thank you.